letters came into the department. I think by the end of it, it was email-based, and for a variety of reasons, complete records were not kept.
You tell us also in paragraph 2 of your witness statement that in your 5 years in office, problems with Horizon barely came across your desk. Is that right?
That is correct, and when they did, it was usually in a very uncontroversial way, and it was not drawn to my attention as an issue I should focus on. Yes, I accept the fact that it happened on our watch. I know that's a cliche, but it's something that ministers have to recognise.
I was about to ask you, when you say that you accept your share of responsibility, what are you accepting responsibility for?
Well, general oversight of the department, and this was an area of the department where clearly there was a policy failure. As far as I recall, there weren't any specific interventions that I made or was asked to make that would have changed any of those long list of things that you described.
You say, before I came into government, I think I had 8 closures in my constituency. I organised and collected numerous petitions against branched closures. Usually postmasters did not want to become involved because they were afraid of the consequences. And then when we came into government, Ed Davey and I agreed, based on our experience as constituency MPs, that post office middle management were, as I described when you refer to a debate in Parliament in 1999, authoritarian. Mr. Bates, as I believe, described them as thugs in suits, and I recognise this description. Post Office dealt with us in an arrogant way when we campaigned against closures. So drawing the threads together there, you had been involved in a separate issue, a closure issue, and that had given you some insight into the way that poll middle management behaved. Is that right?
That's correct. So just to elaborate a little bit, I had raised a debate in Parliament, I think probably I was one of the first, about the way in which postmasters were treated by the Post Office. And there was a particular case, which you haven't referred to, but there's a particular case of a woman in my constituency who's had invested, I think, £7,500,000 in her post office. It was taken away from her for reasons that were never clearly explained. She lost all the money. Another post office opened up nearby for reasons that were never explained. And I never got good answers as to why this was happening. So I called a debate, and it basically chimed in with other experiences I had of the post office. For example, I'd been campaigning for months on post office closures in my own constituency and others, and I took them to the post office, and it was all sort of brushed aside. I was an interfering politician, it was nothing to do with me. Operational matters were matters for the post office and not for ministers or politicians. So I'd formed a very negative impression in the case, and it was reinforced in government, because I think I mentioned a few minutes ago that I think the one occasion when I was a minister where these distressing cases were brought to me was by a deputation, not a deputation, a single man, a member from the Federation, about, I think, 50 to 100 cases. He brought a scrapbook of